What's up, guys? It's David, Yo Soy David, and on this David versus Film, I'm actually starting up a new segment called Spilling the Peach Tea, where I'm going to discuss your comments, your amazing comments that you have left, and I really just want to go a little bit further with the discussion on them than a little 1 or 2 sentence response on YouTube's comment section. I eventually want to turn this into a live stream, but I don't know how to do that yet. I'm still kind of figuring things out, so I thought this might be a nice way to do it, just a dedicated video. You guys have heard me talk about this in other videos and in the comment replies that I gave you guys previously that I wanted to do a video like this, so here we are. I feel kind of weird actually sitting in this angle. I'm so used to watching movies. I feel like I'm making announcements like at the high school principal's office, like, the lunch today is square pizza. But hopefully this doesn't throw you all off too much, and I think it's just a better sort of head-on approach. I want to do a video for each of the movies of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but today we are starting with Fellowship, appropriately. I have chosen these comments based on a few things. Some of it might be that a lot of you made the same type of comment, and so this one is going to kind of be representative of those, and it's a way to just sort of answer all of them at once. Others might be things that you pointed out that I wanted to address and talk about further, but I think you'll like it. Let me know in these comments how you like this, if you think this is a good idea. I am working on a Patreon. I know some of you have asked about that. And when we get the Patreon going, I want to do more sort of exclusive offerings like this. Maybe go a little bit even further in the discussion or do something with Discord, something like that. So be on the lookout for that. I just put up a new Instagram for David versus Film, so check that out as well. I'll provide all these links, but that's not for today. Today, we're just talking about the comments. I just want to kind of throw that out there to kind of give you an update on where I am with things. So jumping right in. First and foremost, this comment comes from Tracy Gossell, and it says, there would be no Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Dungeons and Dragons, or many fantasy writings without Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings. They have all been influenced to some degree by the writings that started in 1918 and published in the 1950s. Yes, yes, yes. So many of you said this. And you guys know, if you watched the videos already, that there was a running joke that I would make about Harry Potter, or I would tie it with Game of Thrones. That was one thing that, you know, going into this movie series, as you all know by now, probably if you're watching this video, I did not read the books. Have not read the books. I want to. I'm super excited to read them, or at least listen to the audiobooks, if nothing else. But I didn't have any knowledge going in. So I really did approach it from someone who had never seen the movies and knew nothing about the story, except what had kind of come through to me over the years, you know, that kind of broke through on the radar from just listening to friends talk or something like that. But yeah, point taken. And I definitely see it now. You know, I see, especially with Harry Potter, which I know is a curse word to a lot of the Lord of the Rings fans, or curse words specifically, I guess. But yeah, especially with Harry Potter, there are some things that seem to be just straight up lifted from Lord of the Rings for Harry Potter. And I don't take any offense to it, because I'm actually a fan of both. But I can definitely see how the two sides became polarized, and how there's bragging rights on the LOTR side for some of the stuff that bled over to J.K. Rowling's original writings. So, yeah, I hear you on that. The next one, this one comes from Junior. Of all the jokes you could have made, why Betty White? My God, the timing. When I put the Fellowship video out, Betty White was still alive and kicking and probably watching Golden Girls reruns herself at home. And the minute this video released, she died. You know, RIP. I love Betty White. There was no shade involved whatsoever in my comment about her. I wish that had been Betty White's birthday and that we were still celebrating her through 112. But many of you made this comment. It was such bad timing. I took out that section as soon as I could, so it's not even there anymore. But if you were one of the first ones to watch the video, before I edited it, you saw that line about at Bilbo's birthday party, that we hopefully that'll be all of us one day celebrating Betty White. So yeah, sorry about that, Betty. Scott Redding, rule number 1, if you have to exposition dump, get Cate Blanchett to voice it. Yeah, no shit. Cate Blanchett is amazing. I love her. I was actually surprised. This is one of the reasons I pulled this comment to respond to. I was actually surprised Cate Blanchett was not in more of the Lord of the Rings films, but I loved everything she was in. And even if she didn't show up again, except to do the intro, what an intro. I mean, coming to these films, like I said a minute ago, with knowing very little, it was a great way to start with Cate Blanchett. Her voice alone, just so good. Rick Cosman, after you finish the movies, you should read the books. The length of the movie still did not cover all the adventures and the storylines in the books. Yes, agreed. I said earlier I want to read the books. I meant that. I'm not just giving lip service to you guys. I fell in love with this world and these characters so much. I'm going to get to the extended versus theatrical in a minute, but just to sort of give a quick preview of that, I was shocked. I was actually shocked at how fast these hours went by. When I was at the outset of this, I really did not think I was going to get that into the series. And truth be told, I was kind of dreading starting it, just being honest with you guys, because I was so afraid I would get bored. Oh my God, was I stupid. Once I started watching these movies, I couldn't get enough. I was actually really sad at the end of Return of the King, not because of the material. I mean, I was sad because of that too, but because this was the end of such a journey with these characters. And unlike you guys, most of you anyway, who had to wait years between the movies, I watched all of these pretty much back to back in a short amount of time. So I really got invested with these characters and really was sad to see it go. So it would be my privilege to read the books or again, listen to the audiobooks to be able to continue this world and put more color into it with details that might not have been included in the movie. So yes, I agree with you, Rick. I will definitely be doing that. This one, my God, yes. This is representative of probably about 100 comments to this same point. The J. Thorne 9. It was not just 24 hours between the fireworks and the Nazgul. In the book, it is over 17 years. Thank you so much for pointing this out. As I said before, I had no idea about the amount of time between things. I will say this, the movies, I respect this approach in general when movies don't dumb things down for you. I remember there was a gag in the old Naked Gun movie, if you guys ever saw that from the 80s, where it shows a picture of the White House, and then below it says the White House, as if you didn't know. And then below that it says Washington, D.C. So that was funny in that movie, and I get what they were trying to say, that like sometimes movies really dumb things down for us. Lord of the Rings did not do that. But I would say one side effect of that, though I definitely appreciate that approach on its face, is that I am kind of in the dark figuring things out. There was nothing, and you have to remember too, I'm also trying to watch the movie and talk to you guys, make commentary, make it interesting, and make sure I've got everything going on around the room, that things aren't falling down and the dogs aren't going nuts. So to be fair, I'm a little distracted, to say the least. But I didn't see anything that made it very clear a timeline or how much time had passed. So thank you guys for pointing that out. And I just wanted to explain why I didn't know that. So I didn't know ages. I didn't know timelines as much. It became a little easier later when I was more familiar. But you guys got to remember, that was like, what, 20, 30 minutes into the first film? I didn't even know what I was doing at that point. I mean, I didn't know anything. So thank you for your patience and thank you for pointing that out. But I definitely wanted to cover that. I had no idea on the timeline until you guys told me. Goofy, come on, man. Please don't cut parts including Elvish or dark speech. Awesome reaction, though. First of all, thank you for saying awesome reaction. I always like to follow criticism with a compliment. That's what I try to do in real life, so I appreciate that approach as well with your fine comment. But yes, I would say that the hardest thing, and you guys, if you've seen some of my other responses to previous comments, know this. The hardest thing that I have discovered about doing these YouTube videos is cutting content out. YouTube is very interesting with the way that they tell me I have violated copyright. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Some creators have said that it's 10-second clips. If you go beyond 10 seconds, it'll ping something on their end. Some have said that if it's more than 10 minutes cumulative in your video from a film, that pings their response to give you a copyright notice. I don't know what it is. All I know is that I put my videos together. I try not to go over 10-second clips because I do believe that's closest to how YouTube, triggers their things or whatever. But yeah, it's really tough. I want to include so much, and it was really hard the more I got into the story as well, because then I really started to love characters. I really started to love storylines. And I felt like it was blasphemous to cut things, but I just don't have a choice. So I apologize for any of your favorite moments, any of your favorite lines. I know, and we get to this later with like speeches and whatnot, especially as the film series goes on. That was the hardest, the speeches and the battle scenes. because they go on for so long, and it's so necessary to see all of it, but it was so hard to cut it. So thank you guys for understanding on that as well. Maverick 56, the fact that you didn't watch extended cut for your first time is a real travesty. As Jackson, the director, has said, it is the way it was meant to be watched, but okay, I guess. Yes, as I alluded to this a moment ago, you guys got really opinionated when it came to extended versus theatrical. That was by far the most amount of comments I got in the comments section. And I knew I was screwed the minute I asked you guys what I should do, because two very passionate camps emerged, one for theatrical and one for extended, and neither of you guys, or very few of you anyway, were buckling on either side. So I knew I was kind of damned if I didn't, damned if I didn't. I ended up erring on the side of extended because this is kind of how I ended up basing it in the end. More than one of you said, if you're liking the characters and you're liking the story, go with extended. Because, why not? You'll get more story and you'll get more exposition. That made sense to me, and that's what I ended up doing. I remember in specific, and I'm sorry I don't remember exactly who it was that said it, but someone said, too bad you didn't go with theatrical, because you can always go back and watch extended and learn more, but once you've seen extended, you can't really go back and watch theatrical and know less, if that makes sense. I know I've got it straight in my head. I'm probably not saying it correctly, but basically, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube once you've already seen it. I'm sensitive to that, but I have to say, in the end, I don't know any different because I only did the extended. I am kind of glad I did it. For nothing else, because I really enjoyed the Boromir storyline and getting more background on that. And several of you have said that that was one of the major components of the extended, is that you get to see that, whereas in the theatrical you don't. So I'm glad I made the decision, but I have mad respect for both sides, and I really appreciate you guys' points of view on either side of that whole situation. So thank you for that. Player Martin 286. Yes, you're watching the theatrical version. Good job. So there you go. See, talking about the Fellowship. In this particular movie, I did watch the theatrical. I made the point when I started, I think I said anyway, that I was doing that because that was how you guys probably watched it the first time when you fell in love with it, and I wanted to experience the same thing. So that was kind of my thinking. But yeah, so thank you for that. Morathane, nice little wink to your venture into The Hobbit. Shortly after, and probably has been said, they utilized different techniques for perspective. Frodo sitting several feet behind Gandalf in the cart, but looking directly left like he's sitting right next to him. Gandalf and Bilbo filmed the bag-in or entry scene on different sets, one large and one tiny, extras and such use. Okay, so I pulled that comment to segue into a larger discussion on the effects. Good God. I think I probably made comments on the effects more than just about anything else. I was blown away. The effects in this movie, and to know that this was 20 years ago when this came out, I was just pleasantly surprised and truly impressed at everything. From the difference in sizes, which is what we were talking about here specifically. I think I'd made the comment about how the hobbits were so small, and I know that, from the back they use little people or they use kids or something like that to really show, but then they use more special effects when it was the head-on shots or forced perspective and things like that. But to be able to do all of this and to have it be so convincing and not look so manufactured, and to have things like Gollum, to have Gollum, to have the hobbits, to have Gandalf, and then the beautiful background, the scenery, all of this going on with miniature sets and green screens, but very few from what I understand. I'm in awe. And another thing I wanted to discuss while we're talking about this particular question is several of you making the point in all of the movie comments that I need to watch the behind the scenes. I need to watch the makings of, the documentaries. I want to. I really do. I don't know if I can find those except for on the DVDs or the Blu-rays. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more research. I can tell you I want to get to The Hobbit before I get to something like that. So that might be something when I get the Patreon going that I'll do just exclusively for Patreon. Watching the behind the scenes, that is, and commenting on that. If I do it for the channel or if I don't, regardless, that is something I definitely want to watch, because I told you guys before, I am a nerd when it comes to behind the scenes. I love more data, more input, more history. That is right in my wheelhouse. I love that kind of stuff. So that is something I'm definitely interested in. And again, whether I do it for the channel, whether I do it for Patreon or both, or just privately, please know that I heard you on that. I appreciate your input, and I will definitely be checking those out. Okay, so we have 3 more, and then we are done. This one's a little bit longer. This is from another person who has my heart. He has been a supporter of the channel since the very beginning, so thank you for that. And that is Michael Nolan. And Michael Nolan writes, "Woohoo, I'm so excited you're tackling this one. The landscapes always make me homesick for New Zealand. I've lived in the UK since 2004. And then he says, trivia. Okay, the ringmaker for the movie is the New Zealand jeweler Jens Hansen. Probably saying it wrong. You know, us Americans, we can't pronounce anything. And several different sizes and weights of ring were used in this movie. After Lord of the Rings was released, the sets were deconstructed and any affected landscapes returned to their natural form. After Lord of the Rings blew up and the Hobbit movies were planned, the Hobbiton set was rebuilt." And then he goes on to say that you can visit, and many of you also said this, and I really appreciate all of the points and the tidbits and the suggestions for traveling New Zealand. I made the joke several times that, like, at this point, don't be surprised if you see me like in a t-shirt that says Shire bound and I'm on a plane headed to New Zealand, because I wanted to go visit New Zealand before I watched Lord of the Rings. But certainly afterwards, much like the TV show Lost was a 1-hour commercial for Hawaii every week because that's where it was exclusively filmed. Same with Lord of the Rings. When you watch these movies, it does not escape me that I am watching a 3-hour commercial for New Zealand because it is goddamn beautiful. And I would love to visit anyway. But then knowing that after I became a fan of this, that I could go see a recreation of these sets and have drinks at the Green Dragon and all those things you guys pointed out, I really appreciate those points and you guys saying that. So I would love to do it. And, you know, Michael, I appreciate all, he went on to say other things, but I certainly appreciate all of your input on that. And that is something I would definitely love to do. B Moke. Oh yeah, I love this one. A pet peeve of mine from Lord of the Rings reactions. His name is Aragorn. He gets up in the morn, all forlorn, eats some corn, and watches porn. Aragorn is a different fantasy movie based on a book. Thank you. When I was first watching this, I wasn't watching with subtitles on. I know that I add the subtitled version in the picture-in-picture of the reaction video, but when I'm watching this in real time, I don't watch the subtitles. So I didn't see his name, I just heard it. And to me, it sounded like Aragorn. But after reading this, and that he eats corn and watches porn, I will never, ever be able to hear his name or think of it in a different way again. So thank you for that. And honestly, Aragorn is another movie series I haven't seen, and I really would like to see it. If you guys think that's something I should watch, please let me know. And then finally, we come to a comment from Lord Razier. Howard Shore did the music, and he did a wondrous job with all 3 movies. Hell yes. Okay, so I know I made plenty of comments about the special effects. I know I made plenty of comments about the scenery. I know I made plenty of comments about the acting and the directing and the writing, but I probably did not make as many comments about the music as I should have. And Lord knows, if you guys just kind of jumping ahead, I know I said I was going to try to keep it limited to Fellowship only, but kind of tiptoeing into the other films. The emotions I felt at the end of Return of the King were probably 30% based on the score. I'm a sucker for cinematic music that plays at just the right moment. And the music that was chosen for these films, whether it was the actual songs, and I read other comments you guys wrote about how Liv Tyler sang one of them in Elvish, I think it was, or if it's just the actual musical score, was just phenomenal. I can't imagine seeing it and not having the sound design of the battle scenes, of the music that accompanied dramatic parts, of the tension that's created by certain scenes. It just, yeah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about that, because I 100% agree. The music and the sound design in these films was on the same level, if not higher, than all of the other technical components that made it the legendary composition that it is. So thank you for that. Thank you for all these comments. Thank you for all of your comments that you left. Let me know if you kind of enjoyed this video. This is sort of a weather balloon to see if this kind of thing is anything you guys are interested in. I know that several of you said in the comments that you would like to see a video like this. But now that it's out there, just let me know if this is what you were thinking of. Again, I'd like to eventually do this as a live stream. I just have to learn how to do the live stream so that I can answer you guys' questions and comments in real time. So please be patient with me on that. But hopefully this will be a nice sort of substitute for that in the interim. As always, thank you for watching all of the videos on the channel. As I said before, it's become a true passion. I've been so happy doing this, and I certainly appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so. If you do, be sure to click the bell so that you're notified when I've uploaded new content for you to enjoy. And in the meantime, you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video.